Hello, welcome back. In the last video, we developed our first recording, and also we have added a couple of custom steps. Like these two are custom steps that we added. But while adding these custom steps, what we did, we used Selenium's default properties or Selenium's default features, so that we right click and then we add this wait for title and verify text present. Okay, so but what is more important is that sometimes you can't really use default features. To write your step, what you need three things. You need command, or you need what you want to do. Okay, so this is otherwise known as what you want to do, and then you need a target. Okay, so target means where you want to do. Okay, and then you need some value, and this value is optional. Sometimes you need, sometimes you do not need. So for example, I want to take this thing and something that I have a very simple form here, and where I have two inputs, input 1, input 2, and then a button. Okay, so what I want to do, my goal here is to write a write a step in Selenium. Okay, so that I can type something here. Okay, so basically what command I will do, what command, what target, or what value I'll do, so that if I run this thing, then it will insert 98 in this field. Okay, so how do I do that? So let's first see what kind of command that I need to do. So basically this is something like keyboard typing, right? So therefore the command will be type. Okay, so the command will be type. And then second is target, right? So where I want to put it this in this field, right? So how do I identify, or how do Selenium identify what is this thing? And there are 6 different techniques. Okay, so there are 6 different techniques by which Selenium can identify an element in the web page. Okay, and those techniques are: number 1, by ID; number 2, by name; number 3, by link; number 4, by XPath; number 5, by CSS path; and number 6, by DOM, by document object model. So what we're going to discuss in this video and the next video, all these identification techniques, and by end of this chapter you should be able to identify the target in a fairly complex website. Okay, so the first thing is that by ID. So just to look at by ID, so your HTML, right? So this is the HTML rendered, and the equivalent HTML for that is this. Okay, and here this is the tag, and this is another tag, this is a tag, so this is another tag. But this tag is a little bit more interesting things here. So in this tag we have something called attributes. Okay, so that means the tag is going to start with less than sign, and then the tag name is XYZ, and then what we have something called attribute and then end. Okay, so these attributes comes up in two things, like a key and a value. So in case of my form, the key is ID, the attribute name is ID, attribute value is login form. Similarly, if I look at this thing, okay, for this tag which is input, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have 4 attributes. And the first attribute is ID is equal to C1. Therefore name is ID, the value is C1. For second attribute, the name is name and the value is continue. Okay, and so on. So first thing is that if Selenium finds a attribute called ID, then the target string would be ID is equal to E1, or ID is equal to whatever the ID value. Okay, so that means what I'm saying in this thing, that if I give ID is equal to E1, then I should be able to locate this element. Okay, so if I did type and I give the target is equal ID is equal to E1, not E1 colon, not E1 quotes, double quotes, or whatever, just E1. Okay, and also is a very nice tool here, like just to see if this is really identifying or not, just click on find. So if you click on find, then you see a yellow splash. See, so some kind of yellow things coming up. So basically that means yeah, it is finding. If you say for whatever reason you give U18, okay, and if you click on find, then it will give you an error that locator not found. So that means it's a very good way to check here in this IDE that if you are able to locate this thing properly or not. Okay, so that is by ID. And let's say you want to so let's go back to that HTML for a minute. So I want to locate, say, form. I want to locate completely everything. So how do I do that? I will do something like this. So the form ID is equal to login form. Okay, so if I give here, so if I give, instead of ID is equal to U1, I give ID is equal to login form. Okay, so that is what ID, right? So if I do find, so looks like it's not finding. So what is wrong? So let's see the HTML. So this is login, then it is capital F. Okay, so that is why it is not able to take. So it's very case sensitive. So you have to be exactly what is there. So if I do login form, look, it is basically it is able to recognize the complete form. Okay, so I cannot type anything on the login form. I can type only on an element, and that element is ID is equal to U1. Okay, so if I do find, then I'm able to find it. Then what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to put a value 98. So let's put 98, and then if I run this thing now, okay, so it is going to put 98 here. Okay, I did this command myself. Okay, two things: I need to know what command I give, because I need to give type. Okay, then what is the target? Target is ID is equal to U1. I'm identifying the element by ID because ID is available. Then I put the value 98. Okay, so this is how you use by ID identification technique to figure out how to locate the element. So another thing is that, like, if you look at this orbis.com, the HTML is not as simple as you saw here. It's a very complex piece of HTML. But my question is, how do I know what is the tag for this thing? So that is where a tool called Firebug is going to help you. Okay, so Firebug is a Firefox browser plugin. So you go to this website called getfirebug.com, download and install this Firebug plugin. Once you install the Firebug plugin, you should see in the web developer something like this, Firebug. Okay, and also what you're going to see, if you right click here, you're going to see something called inspect element with Firebug. If you click on that, it is going to open up the Firebug console, and it will take me directly to the HTML which is responsible in rendering this text box. Okay, but look at here, I like to see an ID, but ID is not here. Okay, so if ID is not here, then the question is, how are we going to identify? That is where our second technique, or that is where we need to learn the remaining techniques so that we'll able to figure it out. Okay, so that's what my intention here is. The next couple of videos I'm going to tell you all the tricks that is required so that you'll be able to find out in a complex application or a complex web page, you need to find out how to determine the target. Thank you.